Someone told me that these glasses make me look smarter like a teacher, so I thought maybe it would fit this video pretty well actually. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone is doing well. So I wanted to just make a video, which is how to get more into cooking, how to make cooking easier, and how I'm able to cook so much. So some of you already know I've been cooking for most of my life. I love doing it. In my heyday, I was cooking probably every day. I was cooking every meal. I want to share with you guys some tips that help me to get more comfortable in the kitchen, more comfortable cooking, and how it made it so easy for me to cook as much as I did. So the first tip I want to share, chop your vegetables beforehand. So I'm not talking about just mise en place, whatever that French term is, where you chop all your vegetables and you prepare all your ingredients before you start, like right before you actually start cooking. I'm talking about prepping it like a day beforehand, 2 days beforehand, on a Sunday, for example. So when you go grocery shopping, whether that's, Saturday, Sunday, Friday, whatever, come back home, take all your veggies, take everything that needs to be cleaned, give it a clean, peel it, dice it up, and just throw it in a container, just throw it in the brag, put it in your freezer, put it in your fridge. The reason why I recommend this is because it just makes the entire cooking process itself easier. It's like mise en place, but a little bit on steroids. Because when you're actually ready to cook and when you're actually at the point of starvation and hunger, like I am typically when I start cooking, you don't necessarily feel like washing all these vegetables, peeling ginger, smashing garlic, dicing up onions. You don't really feel like doing that. And if in addition to, just feeling tired, if there's like that obstacle in the way of you cooking a dish right now, you're going to be that much more likely to just eat ramen or just go outside and get some like Chinese food or something. So having all of your ingredients prepped beforehand takes a lot of the energy and takes a lot of the guesswork out. It has multiple benefits, saves time when you actually start cooking, encourages you to use up all of your vegetables, all of the garlic, no more stray potatoes and green onions or like regular onions in your fridge. And it's a great way to add nutrition and the vitamins that you need to your meals without thinking much about it. But the truth is, I'm a little too lazy for that. I wish I did do it because it would make a lot of things easier for me if I'm trying to whip up something simple and I don't feel like taking out my cutting board, my knife, washing all the vegetables. It just adds a lot more work to the process of cooking. So I wish I actually did do all this prep work beforehand, but I don't. But I would recommend that you do it. In fact, I recently bought pre-chopped, pre-cleaned, pre-diced garlic recently, and it's been pretty godly. So definitely recommend prepping your vegetables beforehand. The next thing I recommend is keeping your things visible and accessible. I remember growing up back in Brooklyn, where my family, my friend's family, their parents did this thing where they kept all the pots and pans in the oven to save storage space. But it's a problem because it makes it not only harder to get that one pan that you need to fry some freaking eggs, but it makes it harder to use the oven. If you have to clean out like 30 pounds of metal and pots and pans from your oven just to like freaking make some cookies, you're not making cookies. It's too much work. Conversely, if you need to sort through all this shit just to take out a little small pan to make some soup, you're also not going to do it. It's too much work. What I recommend, keep things as accessible and as visible as possible. It's not as easy as it sounds, but it makes cooking so much easier. In my own kitchen, I have the pans that I use. I have my common kitchen tools hanging right above my kitchen sink. I keep my main sauces and oils right next to my stove, and it just makes it so much easier to start cooking. If I could just reach for the pan, take out the knife right here, bang, bang, all my tools are already there. No digging through cabinets, no doing all that shit. It's just so much more simple and straightforward. I recommend take some time, figure out how you can make your kitchen more accessible and easier for you to start cooking. Anyway, my next tip, understand your eating style. So what I mean by eating style is not necessarily what time you eat or how big you want your meals to be. What I mean by eating style is figure out what you value in a meal and what you need to make yourself feel like you've had a good, nice meal. For me, those things, my accessories are seaweed and maybe a hard-boiled egg or an egg of any kind. The seaweed, because I like to have saltiness, I like to have crunchiness, I like to have texture, and I like the flavor of it. And the hard-boiled egg, because it's like a nice kind of sort of not quite bland, but like a little bit on the blander side, and it adds like a nice creaminess and richness that I really liked in my meals. So if I put those two things with anything I'm eating, it instantly feels like I'm getting a substantial meal and I feel like all of my needs are met. So for you, that might be something crunchy. You might need something crunchy like crushed peanuts or whatever on top of your dishes. Or you need something soft and creamy like some kind of soup on the side. Anything that makes you feel like your meal is complete. Obviously, don't add too many extra calories to it, but within reason, add different textures, add different flavors to your dishes, to your meals, and it'll make you feel like you're having a more proper meal. Korean food is really good about it. When you have your banchan, you have your soups, you have your rice, it feels like you're getting everything that you need. Going along with that, my next tip is to find your condiment. Condiment, I mean things like ketchup, like hot sauce, like sriracha, like ranch. My condiment, as you can see, is Chinese hot chili oil. This shit I put on everything. I love it a lot. It adds a nice heat to my dishes. It adds like a nice deep flavor that I really can't, I don't know, find or add otherwise to it. And it makes eating a lot of things easier. For example, every single day for breakfast and lunch, I usually eat rice, egg, and either some kind of sausage or some kind of spam, some kind of like protein type meat thing. While I do like those dishes, it's not so good that like I actually really want to eat it every day. In fact, the combination is not even that amazing alone. A little dip of hot chili oil makes it so much better. It like takes the dish, I keep calling it a dish, but let's say dish. It takes the dish from like a 5 to like a 7.5. Something that like is unremarkable to something that I can eat every day, twice a day. Now, the reason why I choose to eat that specific dish is because it matches like my meal plan, like with carbs, with fat, with protein. So and it's easy for me to prepare it. So that's why I eat that so much. But for you, that could be something like sriracha that makes everything easier to eat. That could be something like ranch that makes everything easier to eat. If the difference between you eating dinner in tonight, versus spending $30 on Grubhub is a few freaking dabs of sriracha to make whatever you're eating at home easier, then add the freaking sriracha, save the money, and, you know, stay local, aka in your kitchen. Now, the next tip I have is a little controversial. I don't know, but I think it's super important, and that's to add appliances to your kitchen. So things like toasters, things like convection ovens, things like rice cookers, microwaves, slow cookers, pressure cookers. These are all things that I guess on the surface seem like they're, you know, money, seems like they're space, yada, 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 and they are. But two things. One, they're super freaking helpful. They're super convenient. Two, they're not that expensive. Like, it's 2020. A microwave isn't that expensive. A pressure cooker isn't that expensive. Maybe it is actually. I don't know. But I don't think it's that expensive. And I think the convenience factor it adds to cooking is so worth it. Because, for example, rice. It's 2020. I don't believe I need to tell you why you should have a rice cooker in your kitchen. It makes cooking rice so much easier. Unless you have a four burner stove situation going on, you need a rice cooker. Like, I'm not even going to talk more about a rice cooker. But things like, for example, a pressure cooker. Things like, for example, a slow cooker, which does the same thing as a pressure cooker, I guess, but just in like 10 times the cooking time length. But these are things that make certain dishes so much easier and so much more manageable to make. I want you to take a second, think of all the recipes, think of all the things that you've seen on cooking shows that you thought was really good, that you thought were really good and you really wanted to try. But the hurdle of, it's like, okay, I have to prep all this stuff and then I have to cook it for like 3-4 hours and then I have to check it and then I have to stir it. It turns you the fuck off to a lot of things. You may not realize it, but it does. As I was saying before, with having your kitchen tools inaccessible to you, it makes it that much harder for you to cook a dish. If you can invest in a pressure cooker, that it makes it so much easier for you to make stews, to buy cheap cuts of meat that actually can become really tender and flavorful that you can eat for the week and actually save you money in the long run. I'm saying all this to say, invest in good appliances for your kitchen, find out what kind of things you want to make, and do some research, find a good deal, and be happy. I want to give you guys a little story. When I first moved out of my grandmother's house and moved into my friends in our apartment, I was super excited because I had a full kitchen, of course, and the oven, and I get to use it. I was the only person that was cooking in my apartment. But about a month or so after we moved in, my roommates, they got a little, not a little, but it was like a countertop convection oven type thing, toaster oven. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, why would you, I mean, I didn't pay for it, I didn't put money into it, but I was like, why would you buy that? We have a nice stainless steel oven. Why would you spend the money on that? And I thought it was stupid. I didn't use it because I was like kind of like protesting against it or whatever. But it dawned on me after a little while that toaster oven was so useful. And I'll tell you why in like one word. Sandwiches. Pizza. Heating up leftovers. That's 3 words, but it makes small things so much easier. When you really think about it, like my roommate, he used to get banh mi and he would come home and at first he would heat it up in the big oven. But now since we got the toaster oven, he would just use that and it makes it so much easier. Because when you think about it, a big oven for even a pizza is really kind of not that much for a big oven. Like when you take into account how much it heats up the entire kitchen also and how long it takes to preheat and cool down. And you guys know that cool down when you take all those pots and pans out the oven and they're sitting on your kitchen floor and you're waiting for the oven to cool down so you could put all that shit back in there. So while the oven's cooling down, all these pots and pans are on the ground and you're walking into them. But anyway, if you don't have to do that, it makes things so much easier. Like toasting things, like reheating things like chicken and french fries, like heating up frozen, it makes it so much easier than using a full oven. And it got to a point where I really didn't even want to use my full oven because it was a lot of work. I used it for big things like big chunks of fucking pork or like if I was roasting multiple things at once. But other than that, like, nah, son, not in summertime. You ain't catching me using that oven. Like, I even roasted a whole chicken in a convection oven like 3 times and it turned out fine. So, anyway, I'm saying all that to say, like, appliances have a place in the kitchen. Figure out your cooking style, figure out what you want to make, do some research, and grab an appliance. It'll make your life so much easier. The next step, the next tool I want to share with you guys, use the right tools. That $2.99 knife that you got from Family Dollar or the 99-cent store, that's not, no, don't do that. Stop it. Don't use that shit. Because, first of all, you'll cut yourself. And if you don't cut yourself, you won't cut the things that you're actually cutting because they're too dull. And the handle isn't good and it'll fall apart. Don't use, like, bad knives. And I know that, like, no one buys a knife with the intention of it being, like, a shit knife or, like, it being cheap or the handle coming off. But if you know you have a bad knife, don't continue to use it. I know it sucks because you spent the money on it and you spent the time looking for it and you spent the time shopping it, but don't continue to use a bad knife. It makes cooking so much more tedious and so much more annoying. I'm not saying go out and buy a Japanese chef knife that costs hundreds of dollars. I'm just saying get a good knife. case in point, my two main knives over the past few years, the first one was a cleaver that I got from Walmart for like probably like $5 or $6, something, or $10 actually. I got it my junior year of college, so about 3-ish years ago, or I don't know how long it was ago, 3-ish years ago. And that's lasted me up until now. I still use it every now and then, but it's this nice, solid cleaver. I use it to cut vegetables. I use it to cut sandwiches. I use it to cut through chicken bones and pork bones and like cut through meats. It's so nice and helpful because it's a nice blade. It's sharp. It's got a heft to it. It's a good blade. Now, I don't use it so much now. What I actually use is an even cheaper knife that I got from Daiso that's actually ceramic. It did chip actually, because I think I was chopping a chicken bone or something, or a pork bone, but I like to chop my bones. I don't know why I like chop bones, but I do. But yeah, you don't have to spend so much money on it, but just make sure you're getting a good knife. It makes things a lot easier. It's cool to be, I keep spitting. It's cool to chop things up nice and quickly, and just makes life so much easier. And the last tip I want to share with you guys, and I think, dare I say, the most important tip, is to learn your cooking style and accept your cooking style. By cooking style, I mean things like what kind of spices you like to use, what kind of, actually I'll stop there at spices. So I'll give you an example. I'm from a Jamaican family, Caribbean family, whatever. And in the cooking, when my grandmother cooks, for example, she makes curry goat, oxtail, jerk chicken. These are things that require, you know, a shit ton of spices. Like, empties out the entire spice cabinet. Got the tomato, got the thyme, the scallion, the browning, the curry powder, all this good shit. You mix it up, put it in the fridge, let it marinate for a while, and then you finally cook it all day for on like a Sunday. I don't like that shit. I love the food, I like eating it, but I'm not doing all that work. I'm not a marinator. Like, I have to say it, like, I know it could be helpful, I know it, but I'm not a marinator. You're not going to catch me pre-seasoning meats, putting it in the fridge, and like, it might save a lot of time, but I'm not doing it. I'm not washing my hands, all that. I'm not washing my hands. It's just a lot of work. I like to wash my hands, but it's a lot of work. So I don't do that. Come at me all you want, I don't do that. I like Jamaican food, I like Caribbean food. I don't like having so many spices in my kitchen. I really don't. Like, call me Becky all you want, but honestly, salt and pepper and like maybe 2 more other spices, 2 or 3 more other spices than that. Like, that's it for me. Like, I tried to do the whole spice life before, but what I find is that I don't use it all. I don't finish it all. I hardly use it. Take for example, I tried to make oxtail the other day, and I try to not buy many, if at all, any kind of spices, because I know that if I bought spices for that specific dish, I wouldn't really use it all. But I caved and I got allspice because I know that like it really is a very important ingredient in Caribbean cooking, so I got it. And I liked it, and it was good, but now I have the whole thing of allspice sitting in my cabinet that I'm will never finish. I'm not even gonna say probably. I will never finish it, or it will go bad before I even get to the point of finishing it. So I'm saying that to say, your parents' cooking style, your Gordon Ramsay's cooking style, anyone else's cooking style doesn't have to be your cooking style. By all means, I won't recommend sticking to super basic things like ramen and fried eggs, because you should kind of expand on that, but like, don't try to, be something that you're not. Don't try to pretend that like, you like to marinate shit if you don't like to marinate shit. Just find your cooking style and embrace it and revel in it. Don't let people judge you. Do grow, do develop your cooking skill, do not be afraid to try new things and new spices, but when you're starting to cook, don't get overwhelmed, just do your thing, okay? So I'll end the video here. I'm sweating quite a bit. It's super humid today. And yeah, I seriously hope any of these tips helped you out. These are just things that I've internalized over the years, and that's been keeping me able to cook and keeping me so motivated to cook. Get more comfortable in your kitchen. It's your kitchen. I feel like everyone should be able to, prep a decent meal for either yourself or, your families. All right. I hope the video was helpful. If you did like it, please give me a like. If you want to see more, you can subscribe to it as well. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time in the next video and the next vlog, probably. Okay, bye-bye.